everyone, welcome to Listen Love Connect. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are kicking it off by talking about breathing. I'm Savannah Palafox, your host, and today's guest is Sumari Fabara, and we will be talking about the 4 in, 8 out breathing method. Let's head over and get started.
Listen Love Connect is brought to you by Exceptional Heroes.
So today we are talking about breathing in 4, breathing out 8. And Somi and I have been wanting to talk about this topic for a long time, but we thought it'd be perfect to start off May because May is Mental Health Awareness. So we are going to talk about different types of breathing. So Somi, I get questions a lot about how you should breathe when you're doing controlled breathing. For me, I like to breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth, and then I also like this one. I don't know what they're all called, but yeah.
So there's definitely several types of breathing techniques or sequences. Essentially, breath work is about being more conscious. It's about the consciousness. It's about directing your breath, and that's what makes it different. Because right now we're talking to each other. Yeah. If you're not breathing, you're dead.
Right.
Whenever someone's like, "Oh, you're unconscious." So what, especially within a mental health field, the element of grounding and awareness and mindfulness all is connected to the breath. And if you are able to connect with your breath, which then connects you to your body and connects you to the present moment, you are able to regulate yourself, your emotions, and get you in a different space. So for me, I would say 4 to 5 breathing techniques that I have either used personally or I use with my clients often. You talked about the nostril, it's the alternating nostril. And basically what that is some people use their thumb and their ring finger. I always say that it doesn't really matter. Like some people, it's easier to just, because we often like hold your nose and that's all. The key concept in that breath style of breathing is that you want, like when you inhale, one nostril is closed and the other is open. And then when you exhale, you switch nostrils.
Yes.
And then, but here's the thing that people can get mixed up and then they only do one side. So like, for instance, if I'm inhaling through my left nostril right now, because I plugged my right. And then I'm going to exhale through my right.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to inhale through my right, and then I'm going to exhale through my left. So it's wherever, if you start here inhaling, like, and you exhale here, then you start here inhaling and you exhale. So it's called alternating nostrils. And that breathing technique actually helps very well in crisis situations.
Yeah.
And to really calm the central nervous system. So, from a grounding perspective, from a calming perspective, a stress reliever, if you're having a panic attack, that's a really good method to use. The other method that I often use is the visualization breathing.
Okay.
Whether I ask you to visualize the breath going from the top of your head to the bottom of your spine, or from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. So like inhaling, you're filling up your body to the top of your head, exhaling, you're breathing out to the bottom of your feet. So that's called a visualization breathing. So I'm getting you to use your breath to focus, to scan your body, if you will. The other thing is the 4.
Yes.
The square. And some people do 4-4-4, or people just do, 4-4. And I feel like the 4-7-8 is a play off the 4-4-4.
Yeah.
So if either one of those that you're doing, essentially you're breathing in for 4, you're holding your breath for 7, and then you're exhaling for 8.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned, because I came into breath work through yoga, in yoga, you do something called ujjayi breathing, and it's supposed to sound like the ocean. And in order to do that, it's a breathing in through your nose, out through your nose.
Okay.
So it sounds like the ocean. But there are times where I'll even use this, and we learned this in yoga practice as well, where you breathe in through your nose and you exhale through your mouth. But it's normally you make a sound when you do it. So it's like you breathe in and you go, or sometimes it's a breathing in and an They're different Sanskrit words you can use as a vibrational element to awaken the body and the mind and the spirit. So the 4-4-4, the square is you inhale, you hold, you exhale, you inhale. So you kind of just go in a square. Some people just do inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So, and then the 4-8, like I said, is an inhale, hold your breath for 7, and exhale for 8. Now, well, 2 years ago, it's almost 3 years now, actually, because I was 20.
Well, today's the day I came home. So 3 years.
Yeah, but we started in June, so it's almost 3 years. So, and September, October is when you had the idea for Exceptional Heroes. At least you communicated your idea of Exceptional Heroes to me. And so in the process of developing Exceptional Heroes and things of that sort, and one of the components is the breathing aspect of the sound box. And maybe you can talk a bit more about this, and then I can explain the reasoning behind it. So the element of the incorporating the breathing, especially because, as it pertains to you and your experience and in this sound box.
So you first, everyone knows about breathing, but they never knew, I feel like, the correct way. Everyone felt like just take a deep breath in and then let it out, which it sounds like more of the visual breathing that you're explaining. But no, I feel like as time has gone on, as I've learned more, I feel like having the count is better. But anyway, when you introduced me to bells to help with telling me when to breathe in, when to breathe out, we used the 4 in the square method at first. And it wasn't until we started developing Exceptional Heroes, we were seeing some trouble with certain things. And you brought up the 4 in, 8 out, and I started using it on myself. And Somi, you did your research, and I felt like the 4 in, 8 out was better. It helped calm me down a bit more than the 4 and 4. And so it's definitely a science when we were building the box, because we wanted to make sure that sometimes your count can be fast, like you're just 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we were developing the box and the sound to help with the breathe in, the breathe out, we wanted to make sure that it was consistent. And Somi, you tested it out and all that. So yeah, the 4 in, 8 out was very beneficial. It definitely helped the autonomic system. Yeah, I love the 4 in, 8 out. Holding the 7 did not work though. Being a survivor and all of that.
Right. And that's where the 4 in, 8 out. And I should say this, 3 years ago, in doing the research, and I know Savannah, you did your research too, we didn't see a 4 in, 8 out
No.
technique. I should say, we just saw it one today,
Yeah.
that it's popping up. A lot of people are starting to kind of get hyped to it or on the bandwagon, whatever you want to call it. But back then, given that Savannah is a sexual assault survivor, one of the things from being trauma informed was making sure that I did not do harm to her. Because sometimes even these really beautiful techniques and things that from a mental health standpoint, it has to be catered to the individual and their experience. And so one of the things you and I often talked about, I would tell you is like, whatever I introduce you to and we try out, if it doesn't work for you or it's causing you any adverse kind of experience, I need that feedback, because either we need to take it out completely or we need to tweak it. And that's how this came about. So first we started with coherent breathing with the bells, which does 4 in, 4 out. And then I was like, well, wait a second. The science tells us that you want to elongate the out breath. The out breath is really what is the thing that sends the message to the brain to help it to calm and send, the right chemicals and messages. And so with developing that, at first I saw the 4, 7, 8, and I was just like, wait a second. This doesn't make any sense. Most sexual assault survivors, at least the ones either I currently have or I worked in the past, talk about how in that moment they held their breath.
Right.
And part of trauma is a holding of your breath, which then causes tension in your neck, your shoulders, and your body. And I was like, well, wait a second. I wonder if anybody had realized that the 4, 7, 8 is not a trauma-informed breathing technique.
Right, yeah.
Because to ask somebody to hold their breath could increase the anxiety and increase just a lot of the hypervigilance and everything else. So that's when I said, how about we try, take out the 7 and you just breathe in for 4 and you exhale for 8. And that's when you are like, oh yeah, this is.
It took learning though, because of the 8 out. So it's just training your lungs for that. But
exactly. Yes. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because one of the things we did is we started with the 4-4 to even get you comfortable with proper breathing. Because that's the other thing. Most people they breathe with their chest and not with you want a belly breathing. So you want to think of it as your lungs filling up and the rise and fall of your stomach. It's like a balloon. So fill up the balloon and then you release the balloon. But a lot of people do this. They do that breathing, and that actually is counterproductive. It actually will increase your anxiety. So if you think about it, when somebody's hyperventilating or having a panic attack, how do they breathe? And if you go to the doctor, one of the things when they're checking you out, you're having a physical or whatever, they say take a deep, slow breath. So, and it's taking it in. So any kind of chest up breathing, not going to be helpful. And so what I always tell people is if you're breathing properly and all of this is moving up, then it's incorrect. You should only see just a slight movement. The more the severe movement should be the rise and fall of your stomach. So anyhow, we started off, and like Savannah said, the 8 takes some getting used to, because you're training your lungs to, like, you're stretching it out. But that stretching of the breath is what really helps to bring the system into equilibrium. So,
And if you guys need help with like knowing if you're using your stomach or not, I remember back when I was being diagnosed with chronic migraines and seizures, I had a pain therapist come in and he told me, now this might not work for survivors, but he told me to lay on my back and put like a stuffed animal on my stomach so that I could see it lift up and down. So of course that's not going to work for everyone. I was able to do it back then laying on my back, but now it wouldn't work. But that's just a suggestion for some of you.
So that's so that's why I always do this. I ask to look here because for a lot of trauma survivors, again, being trauma informed, you shouldn't ask a trauma survivor, especially if they're not comfortable to lay on their back. And most of them are not comfortable laying on their back because that's the position of helplessness and powerlessness that they were in. So a lot of times it's fetal position, it's on their sides. And obviously, if you're on your side, it's not easy. It's a little more difficult to put, I call them breathing buddies,
Okay.
to put them on your stomach or your stuffed animal, or what, it could be even a pebble. You could put anything on there just to see it, right? But that being in fetal position or on your side makes that a little more challenging. So what I suggest people to do is look at the collarbone. So I'm going to demonstrate for you me breathing. And now the interesting thing is because I've been breathing for 19 years, my natural breath is trained to be 4/8, that you have to really watch closely. If not, you're like, is she even breathing? I remember I went to the doctor one time and they're like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I feel okay. It's like, can barely sense your breath. And I was like, yeah, I have a really slow, very calm breath. But that has taken time over the years. So I'm gonna demonstrate, and that's one of the reasons why I wore this particular outfit today, where you could kind of see my neck and collarbone. And so where you're trying to focus on is right here. The rise and fall of my collarbone will give you the indication of that I'm breathing properly. So remember, that's not it. Your shoulders don't need to go up, because remember, anything that's requiring all of that is creating more tension. You're not feeling relaxed. Relaxation means like you're kind of like the spaghetti, like you're loose. So I'm gonna do the 4-4. I'm gonna do the 4-7-8, and then I'm gonna do the 4-8. Okay. All right. So, all right. If you tell me
to count?
No, you tell me to start, okay. And I'm pretty good at the counting, even though I don't have,
Okay. Okay.
Did you catch it that time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do the 4-7. This one, you should be able to catch it more because of the holding of the breath. So let me know.
Go ahead.
Did you catch it?
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to do the 4-8. Go ahead.
Yeah. Bravo.
Now I want to sleep.
I bet, because if you do these more than 3 times, they'll knock you out.
Yeah, and which kind of leads us into the benefits of this breath work.
Yes.
For people that have insomnia, it's a great addition. People always say counting sheep. I was like, doesn't that just make your mind keep doing some work?
Yeah, yeah.
The idea is to kind of shut your mind off, if you will. But if you have insomnia or just restless doing this, I tell people do it until you probably won't even know when you drift off.
Yeah.
But just stick with it. But normally, after the third round, if you're doing this properly, definitely by the fifth round of doing it, you should be nice and ready to have a snooze.
Well, when I used to do the Wellness Wednesdays, I would always do the 4 and 8 out afterwards. And I would get people coming back saying, haven't slept in so long. This helped me so much doing the breath work. So yeah, it does help with insomnia or just having a hard time sleeping.
Right. So, then just sometimes you may not have insomnia, but just needing help to quiet your mind to go to sleep. It's a good technique. It helps with stress. So, we are definitely still in a pandemic. So there's a lot of stress for a lot of people. So I call them breathing breaks. I think it's John Kabat-Zinn. He developed this. I think it's like 1 to 3 minute breathing breaks. You should have breathing breaks throughout your day.
Mhm.
Just as I call it the medicine that we don't know we need.
Yeah.
Because we're taking in so much on a daily basis, even if you're working from home, your social media, what you're reading, what we are hearing, all these different things. And even I look at my life, and most of the time I'm very particular about what I take in.
Mhm.
But because of the work I do with a lot of trauma survivors, it can get really heavy at times. And so after every session, if I can, if I'm not running to the next session, literally, I take a breathing break. And there are times, it's interesting, some of my clients will notice this, if in the session, I will be breathing
Mhm.
as I'm listening to them. Sometimes it's a way to regulate myself. And sometimes it's a form of co-regulation for them because energy is transferred. So if I find that they're really talking about some very heavy stuff and it can be destabilizing, I will start breathing so that I kind of send off that energy of calm and they can join me in that element of regulation. And it never fails. I have a lot of clients that are like, that was heavy, but I was still able to go through it. And then I was breathing. They're like, oh, and then I have clients now that they'll breathe.
Yeah.
They'll, maybe I'm explaining something and they're feeling their bodies reacting or they're getting tense and they'll start doing the breathing. So that's one of the things, the benefit from a stress perspective. It helps with anxiety, helps with depression.
Brings up your happy hormones.
Yes. So I honestly, your breath is with you every day. Unless you are no longer on this earth, you are breathing.
Yeah.
And you can use it and nobody knows.
Yep.
What's that TikTok that everybody does? Nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do, I've not gotten into TikToks, but I always wanted to do it. Maybe you could do one. The breath work TikTok is like, nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
Like literally, you're at airport and the flight is delayed and everybody's going in an upheaval and it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to miss our flight. And people are looking at you like, why is she so calm? Because you're there and you're breathing and you're staying connected and realizing like this is completely out of my control and I'm going to stay connected with what is in my control. And so that's why conscious, it's like you literally are directing your attention to your breath and using it because it's the most amazing tool and medicine we have to ensure that you stay regulated.
Well, I remember when we were first starting off, you were telling me about the breath work and all of that, but then I had to go on vacation and I just remember panicking. And then so I did my breathing. And when I came back and I told you, you're like, usually my clients don't start breathing like that until after a while, but I'm like, but it was already there and I didn't need the bells.
Right, right. No, and yeah, that I remember that. And that's what you want. The quicker you're able to activate that,
Mhm.
and like I said, take your medicine. It's natural, it has no side effects.
Just
It's
sleepiness
not
if you
gonna
do too
harm
much.
you. It's not gonna harm you in any way. And it's available all the time. And
Yeah.
something even with my son that I taught him very early on. I was like, when you are heightened and you feel out of sorts, that's the first thing you can access. And it's interesting, years ago, people would say, breathe and count to 10.
Mhm.
That was the, I don't know, modified or Americanized version of breath work, because this whole element of breath work is an Eastern concept.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I had to explain with some children when I started doing some mindfulness work in schools in Richmond, Virginia, is like, how people tell you, breathe and count to 10. It's like, it's like that. But instead of you sitting there and counting to 10 and all this stuff, I'm going to put on some bells. I'm going to put on some music. And I just want you to follow, breathe in when it goes this way and breathe out when and it takes away that element of thinking, because having to think like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like, okay, am I counting it properly? I mean,
Right.
once you get more versed in it, then even you don't count it. It's almost like it becomes natural, the flow of it, whether it's 4 and it's 8 out. But even if you're counting, it's not, you don't feel like you're thinking it.
Mhm.
It's more of a being for you.
Yeah. I just listen to the bells because they're nice to listen to as you breathe.
Yes,
Like,
yes. And the frequency of the bells are important.
yes, especially we work, guys, when you get these exceptional heroes, that we work so hard, we've had them tested, and yeah, what you hear in the beginning of this intro and the end, that is our bells, and it's just, I can't wait for it to get out. So everyone can experience it.
Oh, I definitely, talking about getting the counts right.
Yes.
The sound blocks, and then the frequency. Oh my gosh, those hours and hours of listening, and how does it feel, and testing it on people, and does it bring a sense of calm? So even the frequency for people that do the bells, be careful. 432 is what you want to aim for. That is the most healing frequency. Obviously there are other different frequencies, but if you can aim for 432 with whatever you're using, hopefully you'll be using the exceptional heroes soon. Because that it has been very detailed, very scientific with it. And then just from a survivor perspective, so you have a survivor, someone that has been through what you've been through, that literally tested it on themselves.
Yes. To
get it. And yes, granted, Savannah is a different individual than most people, but it wasn't, oh, does this just work for Savannah? It's just going to work for a whole bunch of people. And it's not just even trauma or mental health, with, autism, with disabilities, even with just, wanting to keep a level of calm. So even not thinking of the exceptional heroes as just something that you use when you're in crisis or you need to, but my son, I don't know how many, it became like his, he loves a lot of stuffed animals. And so he would just be sitting on the couch watching something, or we'd be talking, and he had Monroe and he was rubbing Monroe. And, and nothing was happening, but just that element of calm. And which is why, the exceptional heroes serve so many benefits.
And I'll put a link to all the health benefits that not only our breathing bells, but breathing bells in general do down below, and everything about Exceptional Heroes. But thanks, Somi. I think this was a great Kickstarter to Mental Health Awareness Month. And
Yeah.
remember, breathing's always with you.
Yes, the breath is always with you. Thank you, Savannah.
In this video, we talked about different types of breathing, why Exceptional Heroes and Somi use the 4-in, 8-out breathing method, and the benefits of breathing. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. But wait! Make sure to follow and visit these Instagram accounts. Check out my website, exceptionalheroes.com, to learn more about my patent-pending therapeutic device and to buy some Exceptional Heroes merch. See you guys next time, and always remember to listen, love, connect. Bye.